Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. It is Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day here in the States. That's all we're going to say about that today. I got a lot to talk about today. Politics is certainly not one of them. So let's just move forward and get the conversation going, because there's a few things I want to lay out. The first thing, a little bit with sort of a new thing for the podcast. We do have a Patreon page now. It's at patreon.com/ordinary marathoner. You can check it out if you like. We have like 4 different levels of patronage, I guess they call it. 4 different tiers, along with a tier for Zwift rides, because we have another thing going on too. So first we have the Patreon. I got to say, I resisted the Patreon for a long time. I did. I resisted. I wanted to make sure that we had sort of a good plan in place before we actually put it out there. But, you know, we do a lot of work on the podcast. We do, I wanted to make sure that we could give you guys some sort of recognition. If you want to give us support, I think that's awesome. And I'm glad to have the avenue to do that. And we can certainly use it. That's for sure. So if you guys want to give us support, that's a great way to do it. I just wanted to make sure that I was giving you something back in return. So there are certain different levels of recognition and things you can get by different levels of support. And we're going to be working on that going forward and refining it and making sure that it aligns with our strategies and the things that we want to present as a podcast, as a community. But check that out if you'd like. The second thing we added this past week over on our website, teamordinary.com, was some Zwift rides. So obviously I've been really into Zwift lately. I've been riding a lot, almost every day. And, you know, we did our USA Triathlon workouts. We had 2 of those. They went really well. And, you know, sometimes people ask me, hey, how do I get those workouts? Because it's set up as an event. So, if you did the event, or if you want to watch live, you can watch the replay. This is actually one of the really cool things, I think, is you can actually, you can now download that workout through teamordinary.com, and you can watch the replay of when we actually rode the ride and ride along with us. And I think that's an awesome way to do it. And it's one of those things where if you're kind of just sitting by yourself and you don't know what kind of workout to do, or, you know, maybe you just need a little bit of extra sort of fun to add, you know, like that, a little more fun. It just sort of adds a nice layer of something to do while just sitting there spinning the tires. You can download the workout and you can ride to the YouTube. And I think that's a great idea. The other thing we added, and one of the things that we've been doing, obviously every Thursday night for the last 7-8 months, we've been doing our trivia rides. And, you know, we've gotten some pretty good attendance on some of those things and a lot of good support. Some good, you know, some people that come almost every week. I love it. I love seeing it. So we decided to do actual workouts on Zwift that are trivia based. So 1-hour workouts that they're set to free rides. Now, if you want me to do additional or custom work for you guys with the back end, overlaying the trivia on top of a different workout, I can do that. You just got to let me know. We can talk about it. But for now, it's just we're overlaying our trivia rides over top of free rides. So basically, you ride for an hour. You can read the trivia as you go. You can sort of participate on your own and kind of test yourself. I got to tell you, at first, I was a little skeptical, and then I started doing them, and I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of fun. And then I tested them. The 3 that we have out now, I tested, and they're really cool. They're really cool. Obviously, you can only do the ride once, and then you know all the answers to all the questions. So you might, you know, for some of us who are older, and you just wait a few weeks, you could do it again. It's like doing it brand new. But, you know, for some of us, most of us, you watch it once and it'll be done. So we're going to try to put out more and more of these trivia rides and produce them more and more. They do take a lot of hours, though, to put together. It probably takes about 3 or 4 hours to actually enter all the text into the ride. Then we have to test it and edit it. So it takes probably about 5 hours to put one of these things together, and that's kind of on the conservative end. So, you know, we do have it there for free download, but there is an optional donation button. So if you want to kind of kick us something for the effort, that's fine. And if you don't want to, hey, you know what I think is a great idea? Try one of them out. Go up, download it for free, check it out, do a ride, whatever it is. And then if you like it and you want to download more, kick us $1 or $2. It's fine. And if you don't, that's fine too. Honestly, I think they're fun. And I think it's a fun way to get you guys to do some workouts. It's a fun way to kind of It's one of those things where if you're hanging out on a Sunday afternoon, you have nothing to do, and you think, man, these are the two things I can do. I can either watch another episode of This Is Us and try to catch up, or I can jump on the bike and do a trivia ride, and that will entertain me as well. It's like, sometimes you got to make those choices, and the choices you make in those moments can be the difference in training. The more you choose to get on that bike, the better your training is going to be. The more well-rounded you'll be as an athlete, as opposed to making those choices of really what amounts to wasting time. Sorry about that to those who really love This Is Us. We watch too, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, topic of discussion for today is accomplishment. And the reason I chose this as a topic today is because it came up a couple times, and it also surrounds this sort of haze that we have from the COVID and all the race cancellations, and we've been talking about it almost ad nauseum over the last few weeks and months. My race is canceled. I'm depressed. My race is canceled. I don't have a race. I don't have a goal. I don't have something to shoot for. My training's been down. It's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to work hard. And look, it's a real concern. All right. I say that, look, it's something that some people are able to battle out of, but it's another thing that I've heard it too much this year to just dismiss it. If you're depressed over this, if you're sad over this, if you haven't been able to kind of hold on to that discipline over this, you're not alone. It's happening all over the place. And it's one of those things where you remove that sense of accomplishment, that finish line, that thing that pat on the back once you've finished all your training. I mean, that's what this is about, right? That's what this is all about. In a lot of cases, is setting that goal for that A race, training hard for weeks and months for that race, crossing that finish line and accomplishing that goal that you set out for, whether it's to run a 5K or a 10K or to beat a PR or to do a marathon or to do an Ironman or whatever it may be, or an ultra or whatever it could be. You set the goal and then you go get it, and you train and you work hard to get it. And what we've done, what's happened with the COVID and all the race cancellations, is we've removed that prize, right? We've removed that thing at the end, that finish line, that thing that, that moment when I ran through the finish line of my very first marathon, I can still put myself mentally into that spot. And I'll just never forget it. It means that much. And it's no joke. All right. Some people say, oh, well, you work hard. People want to be a tough guy. Oh, you work hard and, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't need that pat on the back. And to a certain degree, yeah, it's like you understand that, but it's nice to have. And it does throw you off when it's gone. But now I'm going to tell you a story because it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Yes, a lot of races got canceled. And one of my clients, instead of looking at it as a detriment, instead of looking at it as an impediment to training and to getting better, she looked at it as an opportunity. And I'm talking about Angela. I'm not going to give her last name only because I didn't ask her permission and I'm not sure. But Angela, if you're in the group, you know Angela. And she said, you know what, I'm gonna give this a go this year. And she said, she's Canadian. And, one of the things, so for a lot of people, you sign up for a marathon and they cancel it and you're like, oh, what do I do now? Right? Angela looked at it differently. Angela said, you know what? For her, the Toronto Marathon was always something that she wanted to do. There's major things that stand in her way. A lot of travel. It's far from her house. The cost of entry, the cost of hotels and all that stuff, and the cost of travel. It's a lot. When you're doing a destination race, it's a lot to overcome, and it's a big commitment to do. And sometimes, especially if you're, if you're a kind of person that you're a little wishy-washy, and she's not, by the way, but if you're a little wishy-washy about whether or not you're actually going to do the work, you don't want to commit financially and everything and emotionally to that big race if you're not sure you're going to do it. So she's never done it, but she's always looked at that race as something that she wanted to do. And this year when they canceled it, and most people said, hey, yeah, they're offering a virtual, but I'm not going to be motivated for the virtual. I'm not going to be able to do that. I don't want to train for that. It's not enough. It's not real. I don't care enough. I'm not going to embrace the virtual race. So whereas a lot of people decided to go that route, Angela did something different. Angela said to herself, hey, here's my opportunity. I haven't been able to get to Toronto to do this race. I've never been able to, I've always wanted to do Toronto Marathon. I just had never been able to get there. So this is my opportunity. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do the virtual race. I'm going to get the medal. I'm going to do all that good stuff. I'm going to earn it. I'm going to register for it. I'm going to train for it. I'm going to hire a coach, hire the best coach I know. And, and I'm going to get to work. And she did. And she did. And for 4 months, we worked hard and we set her training plans and she hit her goals. And she had certain impediments in there. She had a very short window of training on most days. So we couldn't really give her like a full midweek workout every day because she just has these lunch hours that are just tight sometimes. But she worked at it and she worked hard and she did hills and she did tempo runs and she did intervals and she changed her whole thought period. She had one of the impediments we had, it was sort of like a translational language difference, is that in the States we use miles and in Canada they use kilometers. So we were just off. I had to use that the conversion table a lot. How many miles to kilometers, and then change it for her workouts. But she worked hard, and we had a goal. Every weekend we would have our long run, and she hit most of those long runs. She really did. She missed a couple, and it made me a little bit nervous. I would say towards the end, I think she hit a run that was just shy of 20 miles, and then she did one that was just a little bit over 20 miles. Typically for me, I'm hitting like, a 120-mile run, and I'm good. She did miss one that was, I think, her last one, and it made me a little bit nervous. And then on top of that, at the end, she's like, oh, hey, can I do this 15K race the week before my marathon? And I'm like, no. But eventually I got talked into letting her do it as a training run. Sorry. And she was able to do that. She ran 174 kilometers in the month of October, which is insane. She worked really, really hard and she trained really, really hard. Now, as her coach, as she entered race day, which was this past weekend, her goal was to break 6 hours, which would be a PR for her. And I was looking at her times and looking at the work that she did. And I thought that was there. I thought that she could do it. My gut was like, if I had to throw a number on it, I would have said 5:55. But I was hesitant to kind of really predict that because there's so many alternate factors in doing a race on your own, right? And going out and trying to run a virtual marathon on your own, limited support. You don't have water stations or nutrition stations, aid stations, all that kind of stuff. You don't have a crowd cheering you on. She did have a number of friends at different spots on the course that met her, that helped her with nutrition, that helped her if she was like shedding layers. It was cold out in the beginning, so she might have to shed layers, her jacket and stuff. And she didn't want to. Obviously, if you're in a race, you kind of just toss that to the side. But when you're just running the street, you can't exactly do that. She had her nutrition and her hydration all planned out. We talked about all this stuff. We talked about her mental state and what happens at mile 22 when you don't have a crowd and you don't have a finish line, and there's nothing there for you to reel you in other than your own will to do it. And where's your mind going to go? Where are your thoughts going to go? What are you going to do with your pacing plan? And I was nervous about that. All these factors go in, and it's really all of them were like something that could, as a coach, you worry about it because it's all things that could mess up your race. It could make you not accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So she went out that day and she started running. And, I didn't want to text her a lot during her run. Because I knew she would look at it, number one. And number two, I didn't want her to answer me because she should be running. So I kind of stayed out. I shot her a message here and there, just like cheer her on. And she shot us a message twice during the run to tell us, how much progress she was making. And she was on target. She was really on target. But I was still nervous. And I'm like, when my athletes are out racing, I'm like a dad in the, waiting outside the delivery room. I'm like, pacing back and forth and waiting for the next update and trying to figure it out. And then I got the call. And she called me right when she finished. I don't know if I was the first call or not, but I think I was. And she screamed that she got a 5:33. Her goal was 6 hours. She got 5:33. And I didn't really hear her right. And she was kind of just so, you're in that alternate state after you've just run 26.2 miles. And she wasn't paying attention. I was trying to ask her, did you say 5:33? Did you say 5? And she's like, she couldn't hear me. I think she even might have been tearing up, or at least she couldn't talk. She just was so happy that she accomplished this. And eventually I'm thinking to myself, there's no way she did 5:33. It's probably 5:53, right? 5:53. Is that what you said? No, 5:33. Destroyed her PR. And, I got to tell you, she earned it. She earned every step of the way. And when I look at it, she turned lemons into lemonade, right? I mean, that's what she did. She took the thing that has been impeding everybody else, and she made a wonderful thing at it, got herself a really solid goal, stayed true to her training, went out and did what she needed to do to accomplish her goals. And not only did she accomplish them, she destroyed them. She destroyed them. And I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be prouder to coach her. She was a wonderful athlete to coach, very dedicated, asked really good questions. We had really good conversations. She told the truth when she missed workouts, and we always did, we did the right thing to kind of keep her on track. And man, it's, again, when you coach someone and you work with someone so hard and you see the work that they do, and then it comes out and it has such a great result, you're really you're really proud. It's just this big sense of pride that I have for her, and that I could be just a small part of it with that. Great. And it reminds me, about the sense of accomplishment, about what accomplishment means, and that you don't necessarily need a giant race to accomplish something. You need a plan. You need to work hard. You need a goal. You accomplish it, and you can wind up happy in the street, to the point where you can't even speak words because you're so happy about what you did. It's and it's a great feeling. Now I'm going to fast forward that to myself over the weekend. Now, over the weekend, Ron and I and Mike Romans decided we were going to do a bike ride. Ron there's a challenge on Zwift. It's called the Volcano Loop. And if you do 25 times around the Volcano Loop, it's about, I don't even know how many miles. It's about 7-8 minutes every time around. So 25 loops is going to take us over 3 hours. And you get this badge, which the badge is like, it's kind of like just a digital trinket, right? It's like a digital medal. And it gives you some points for your experience points towards the game of Zwift, which is significant. It could be fun. So we got up early, 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock for Mike. We got up early and we started riding. And I got to tell you, I was not beholden to this goal. I was not in love with this goal of getting 25 laps in. I didn't think, different from Angela. I didn't see this as something obviously I've been training, but I didn't see this as something I wanted so badly that I just absolutely had to do. I just knew, I'd get some points from the game, and it was sort of an accomplishment. And we started riding, and, we got through, I would say we got through about an hour and 45 minutes. And I looked down and I said to myself, man, we are not even close to finishing this thing. Like, we've got like another almost 2 hours to go. I've been riding. And Steph was getting up with the baby, and the morning was, it was already past time. It was pretty much the time I told her we'd be like, until like, what I say? I think I said we would ride till 9, and it was already getting, it was already apparent that if I kept going, I was going to be done well after 10. We had some glitches too. We had some technical glitches that kept us delayed. And I was ready to bail. We were probably at lap, 14, 13, and I was ready to bail. I got to be honest. My legs were tired. They were sluggish. They didn't feel good. I was actually testing our trivia rides, by the way. I didn't feel good. But I was in this group with Ron and with Mike, and I felt like, you know what? Let me just latch on to them and just see if we can kind of work my way through this. And we did. We kept working, and it wasn't getting easier. It was getting harder and harder. And it took me probably, I mean, when you think about it, 25 laps. So like a similar frame as a marathon, right? And when you're on that mile 13, 14 of a marathon, sometimes you just feel like, man, I've run so far and I'm so exhausted and I still got a lot more left. That's similar to how you feel after you've been riding for about an hour and 45 minutes and you look down, you're on lap like 13 or 14 and you're like, man, I've got a lot left. I thought this was going to be a little bit of a, less of a challenge. But there's still so much left. Like, why am I even bothering? I should just bail. That was what was going through with my head. But I couldn't find the words to tell these guys, like, hey, I'm just going to bail. I'll see you later. I couldn't do that. There was like this toughness factor there, right? It was, I didn't want to be the one to bail because I knew they were going to do it. I kind of just knew those guys were going to do it. I was just latching on. That's the way I felt. Because I wasn't beholden to this goal. I didn't absolutely need it. At least that's what I thought. But I kept riding. And suddenly that, 14 laps became 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And all of a sudden we're sitting there on 19 laps and we only got 6 more left. And I'm doing the calculation in my head. I'm like, oh, geez, that's significantly less than an hour to go. About 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, all right, maybe we can do this. And it starts going by. And now you got, 20, 21 laps. And now all of a sudden, now you can't stop, right? Now you're so close that you have to keep going. And so we kept going and going. And I think all in, it was like 3.5 or 3 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. It was a lot of riding. And we wound up doing it and getting it done. And I got to tell you, when I finished that 25th lap and I crossed that line, and the little number clicked over to 25, I felt that sense of accomplishment. I felt that sense of, man, like I was going to quit there and I didn't. I wound up doing it. I wound up finishing. And no, it wasn't like an A race or it wasn't something I really was beholden to, a goal that I was training for. But I've been training a ton. I've been training a bunch in the last few months. It just felt good to cross a finish line. It felt good. And we've talked about this now. Now Ron and I and Mike were talking about it and doing like a Saturday morning ride all the time and trying to do something that challenges us, that pushes us, that keeps us on that bike for a few hours. It's all good, especially when you're training for Ironman type races, to stay on that bike for 3-4 hours. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Saturday mornings are now going to be, I know Matt's doing some Saturday morning rides, but we might be trying to do a lot of longer Saturday morning rides. And I got to tell you, I'm loving it because that feeling of accomplishment that I got when I finished was so satisfying. It just was so satisfying. The perseverance and getting through it was so satisfying that it was nice to have. I haven't had that feeling of accomplishment in a long, long time, and this was sort of unexpected because unlike what Angela did, this was not something I had planned. This was just something I kind of latched onto, and went after. But it felt so good after. And I was like, man, and we wound up talking about it after. And I'm like, I felt like I accomplished something. And without those guys there, there's no way I would have stayed. There's no way I would have stayed in that ride. I would have bailed at an hour and 45 minutes. I would have said, forget it. But I kept at it and I kept working hard. And man, God, I got to tell you, it felt nice. It felt nice to accomplish something. And I'm thinking, maybe this is what people need. And obviously we have our Ordinary Marathon coming up. I want to thank everybody for registering. You can go to ordinarymarathon.com, register for our 2021 race, and you'll automatically be enrolled into the Ordinary Half Marathon, which is going to be in about 3 weeks. Now, Governor Baker has issued some more crackdown, stay indoors mandates, which may put our meetup in Boston, for those of you that were going to meet in Boston, may put that in a little bit of flux. We're now debating, we're going to have to do it by the law. Number one, we're going to have to do it by the law. Number two, I'm not running with a mask on. So if they're going to require me to run with a mask on, that's not going to happen. So we'll wind up doing something else. Either, maybe we'll come out. If we can come out, we will. If not, we're going to have to do it more virtually. But like Angela's example, you can do the virtual race and still feel that sense of accomplishment. It is possible. So I would say register for the race, get involved, set those goals, whatever they may be. And honestly, for me, I don't even know that I could run a half marathon right now. I mean, I might, if I went to Boston, I would probably struggle through it and try to make it through. But if I'm not going to go to Boston, I'm probably going to do a 3-step half marathon. I'll probably do 5 miles, 3.1. That's just kind of my goal. That's the goal I'm setting for myself right now. And for, as of right now, we're still going to Boston. So I'm still going to, if we go to Boston and that works out, that's going to be wonderful. But they just announced all these new rules, that I'm not going to get into, but it could put a monkey wrench into that live sort of meetup that we wanted to do. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it works. Hey, I mean, you see what I'm talking about though, guys. You can set goals for yourself, try to accomplish what you can. Try to latch onto it. Make lemons out of lemonade. Other way around. Make a lemonade out of lemons. Like Angela did. I mean, Angela, I think you set the example for everybody, really, especially for those who are struggling, to be able to come into this year and to accomplish something that, I mean, as a brand new PR, a significant PR, you worked super hard at it. You never faltered. You stayed true to your training, stayed true to your coach, and you went out and you crushed it. And I know a lot of people are struggling, and I think that they should look at that as, man, look how that person did it. Look how she did it. And maybe it's not necessarily the goal. Maybe your brain is telling you you need to go through a finish line with 100 million people and have someone drape a medal over your neck and give you a little bag of snacks and cookies, but and take your picture. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Make the lemonade. Make the lemonade. It's tough for everyone. Everyone's struggling. It's tough for me. But I got to tell you, after doing that ride, I think that's, it felt good to accomplish something. It felt really good. And so I'm going to try to keep doing that. And we're going to try to keep kind of pegging these weekend rides as distances that are going to be tough and challenging. And when they're tough and challenging, the more challenging it is, the better you feel when you do it. So I'm looking forward to that. If you guys, by the way, if you guys want to join our rides, we ride now. Now I've been riding 5 a.m. We also have a 6 a.m. ride. But I don't know. We're not going to do that every single day. So that's not it's not really a thing. But our 5 a.m. ride, we're going to continue on 5 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to join us, come join us. We could definitely use the company. And then Thursday night rides will be there. We'll be there Thursday night, as always, doing our trivia. Check out our rides over at the website, teamordinary.com, that we added to our store. Free downloads. Check those out if you're on Zwift. And then what else we got? And then I have Andrew Gracie coming on the podcast on Thursday. So we got another podcast coming at you later this week. And remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.
Now